What is going on, everybody? It is episode 788 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. We are back from the weekend once again, and there was a lot going on. The SNL skits were going viral, and the Oscars happened, I guess. I don't know if anyone really cared in the real world, but
Well, we'll talk about SNL tomorrow, perhaps.
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you even watch SNL,
Yeah.
but I did see people talking about the Elon Musk impression and the Zelensky skit that he was in.
Yeah.
The Shane Gillis appearance as well.
More people, Canadians complaining about America. I saw that
Yeah.
they booed Elimination Chamber, the WWE PLE premium live event, was in Toronto, and they booed the national anthem again there.
Ooh.
Pat McAfee was not happy about it. Those rude Canadians.
Yeah, they're not known for being so quarrelsome.
Well, don't worry, guys. Canada and the UK are going to help Ukraine, so we'll be fine.
NATO doesn't need us anymore.
Yeah, they don't need us anymore. We're fine. They don't need our money.
We
They're
never
fine.
even liked you anyways. That's what they're saying.
But enough of that, guys. We got a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, hit the like button on this video and this live stream and all the other videos that you watch of ours. Click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed to us yet already. We had some growth over the weekend, so if you are new here, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your business. We got a bunch of stuff to get into today. So what are we going to talk about? We are going to do an Oscars recap. So we're we're not going to talk about who won the awards. Nobody cares about who won the awards. They don't. Let's face it. Film nerds care about that. Kino Corner.
Maybe if Kino Corner were here, we would talk about the awards.
Would care.
But that's not really the point. We're just going to recap some of the most cringe moments and maybe some wholesome moments. We'll see.
We'll see. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Michelle Trachtenberg, who was snubbed during the Oscars in memoriam, which is an important thing that they do every year. They gave an entire bit to Gene Hackman, and it was just relevant because, look, you could make the argument in the past that maybe they didn't have enough time to set this up. I don't think that anyone actually buys that, but given that both of them were found on the same day, obviously it goes to show that she was left off there, so we're going to talk about it. We are also going to talk about Shrek. It's giving Sonic before they did the rebrand of the Sonic character in the first movie, so we're going to talk about that. I was never a big Shrek person. But
is anyone, or is it just something that you grow up with and you never hated it, so you're willing to go see the next one? They're announcing the 5th Shrek movie. Yeah. And that's not even counting the success of Puss in Boots. Which I actually loved, the last Puss in Boots movie, but I hadn't seen any of the other ones.
Well, Paddington in Peru isn't doing the numbers they thought it was going to, so maybe once you get to sequel 3 or 4, then you have to start double-checking to make sure that it's still worth going to do.
Yeah.
But Shrek is a powerhouse as far as pop culture references and cultural relevance.
Hey now.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone, I know that song because I grew up when that song came out, but it's very sad because the lead singer of Smash Mouth died like 2 years ago or something.
That wasn't even that long ago.
No,
yeah, and that was one of those celebrity deaths that you go out to like the coffee shop and you actually hear people in real life talking about it. Yep. I heard people in real life remarking on his death twice the day after it happened. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, other people use the internet?
Yeah, it's true.
Isn't that wild?
All right. Well, let's, if you're ready, then we can just get started. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Well, let's go ahead and get started then.
Mark Zuckerberg, the Zuck, if you will, is still in the process of rebranding himself and evolving from a lizard person into a real human being. And his latest effort was a tribute performance he gave for his wife's 40th birthday party, doing an impression of this new pop star named Benson Boone.
Who Mary has a particular disdain for.
I really don't like Benson Boone.
She really
That's
doesn't.
a separate issue, but he did this performance recently where he was wearing this sparkly blue jumpsuit with his classic like mullet and mustache combo. I hate everything about it. I hate his hit song.
When I saw this,
we've had it blasting on our speakers. Everywhere you go, you hear this Benson Boone song. He's like, hey, wait.
Which he did steal from Nirvana.
I hate it. Yeah, and he should be paying them royalties for that. But that's besides the point. Mark Zuckerberg did an impression of that performance that Benson Boone did in the replica sparkly blue jumpsuit at his wife's birthday party. And I wanted to show this video of him getting really into the performance.
Here we go.
The Velcro suit.
It's good to see you.
He really is into it.
Way to make your wife's birthday all about you, Lowkey.
Yeah, he's really into it.
And I really hope you do.
See what it is?
She loves it, though. You
See,
see,
here's the thing. If you guys don't forget that not that long ago, Mark Zuckerberg was caught staring at Michelle Sanchez or
Lauren Sanchez cleavage,
and not only at her cleavage in person, but then also at he liked a photo of hers on Instagram
afterwards. Yeah.
He had to break out all the stops for this one.
Well, he has a sense of humor, clearly, about himself, and he's not afraid to look like a fool sometimes, which is nice. And apropos to the poll today, actually, we wanted to know, who do you think is better at pretending to be human despite being a billionaire lizard person, Jeff Bezos or Zuckerberg? With this video as something that could factor into your opinion, is this an example of Mark Zuckerberg putting on a facade like he's relatable and quirky?
No.
Or is this more so him just genuinely showing his affection for his wife?
See, I think that he's genuinely showing his affection for his wife, and it's just a little bit over the top because of his recent getting caught recently with the
This
like
is a mea culpa.
on the Lauren Sanchez. Well, he put the giant sculpture of her out in the yard. He likes the grandiose gestures.
That's clearly his love language.
But if I'm talking about who is the more believable dork turned billionaire, it's Bezos all the way. Like in the movie, if this was a movie in the 2010s, something called The Social Network, maybe. If they were making a movie, it's got a manic pixie dream girl and a young tech genius. In the movie, he ends up quirky and non-threatening, like Mark Zuckerberg. In real life, he takes a bunch of TRT, shaves his head, gets abs, and dates a sex bot.
Well, actually, to be fair, I've seen so many women thirsting after Jesse Eisenberg in that role.
Yeah?
They weren't attracted to Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
No, they were attracted to Jesse Eisenberg as Mark Zuckerberg specifically. And in that movie, they don't portray him as harmless and just an antisocial nerd. They portray him as deeply sinister and self-interested, and that's what I believe Mark Zuckerberg to be in real life.
That was my tweet for this was basically, it's like, sure, he censored you and sold your data to China, but my gosh, if he doesn't brighten up my timeline just a little bit.
Yeah. You have some wins and you have some losses. Here are some of the tweets that were reacting to this. It went viral. One person said, Zuckerberg is out here glorifying his wife and the mother of his children while Elon is arguing with multiple baby mamas online about kids he has never cared to meet. 10 years ago, every single conservative would be lined up behind the family man. Now, the GOP follows degeneracy.
Well, no, the GOP is simping for Zuck now, too.
A little bit. Not as much as they're simping for Elon, but he thinks that it's a double standard that Elon is getting praised for family values despite the fact
I don't know anybody that praises Elon Musk for family values.
I have literally seen that.
He does not talk about family values.
No.
He talks about population decline.
I have actually seen many conservative talking heads praising Elon for promoting family values.
That's a huge level
by having
of
a ton
copium.
of kids and being a sperm donor.
And
that is completely just laughable that people are even saying that. But it is something that is being said, and it's used to curry favor with Elon.
That's a rehab level amount of copium in their system.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. And I don't know if Zuckerberg deserves the praise instead. How about we just, praise people who are living normal, actually relatable lives?
I mean, that's great, but that's not how the
have
world
family
works.
Values. Another one said, we need to make it so embarrassing to be a billionaire. I am so serious. Just make them feel self-conscious until they're no longer doing shit like this and instead actually being useful to society and human welfare.
But here's the thing. They tried that tactic with nerds, and then society changed, technology changed, and the nerds got all the power.
True.
Not
We're
good.
living in the age of Revenge of the Nerds
Yeah.
at this point, and Revenge of the Theater Kids.
That was Hardison's saying in the show Leverage was Age of the Geek. Yeah, and that was in the early 2000s. Now we truly are in the Age of the Geek.
I was just researching a new aesthetic trend called losercore, which you might think overlaps with nerds, but it's more so about people who are just completely unexceptional. And I realized that people who were people who were losers, the average loser in, say, 1990 was 1,000 times cooler and more unique and self-possessed than the average loser of current day, because they didn't have the internet. They could sit around mouth breathing and watching paint dry, and they'd be alone with their thoughts because they were so uncool. And they would still be 1,000 times more interesting than somebody who bed rots doom scrolling TikTok all day.
So they named a trend after me.
So the
That's
downfall of
amazing.
losers is really a scourge of our time.
Like,
we used to have cool losers who sat at the loser table, and now they sit in their rooms alone.
Well, the thing is back then losers were made up their own trends of things that weren't cool in school, and then they had to be okay with not being cool. Now you can't be okay with not being cool. You just go on the internet and find other people that like it like you, and you cut yourself off from the people that don't like
And
it.
you diagnose yourself with something to feel special.
And you call yourself autistic.
Yeah, it's really sad what's happened to the loser archetype. But
I'm
anyway.
definitely loser maxing. Thank you. Serial Killer in the chat says lose maxers. Yeah, they named that trend after me, and that's okay.
Another person said one cycle of trend can change your life. Another one, he is becoming more human day by day. It's both weird and amazing. Brett Cooper said, I actually love this and think it's hysterical. Women love a confident man who has fun and acts like a silly goose sometimes. I have noticed a new trend among Zoomer women who are saying that they want to find lover boys. This is the term they're using now. Because they're
so
tired.
not the Andrew Tate lover
Yes.
boy.
They're tired of top G. They're tired of Sigma males. They are tired of nonchalant men. They want to find the true lovers, the lover boys who are unabashedly obsessed with them and willing to do the grand gestures like this one in the video for them. Because they don't want a guy who pretends like he's not interested, I guess is what they're saying. Who plays it cool. They're tired of guys who play it cool.
I see all sorts of problems with that on the offset, that once they get bored with them, they're going to resent them.
It
Sorry.
has to be the right guy.
And we're like, if we're talking about the Mark Zuckerberg lover boy, we're talking about $1 billion lover boy. Please don't
well,
make
they
me
were together
laugh.
before he was a billionaire.
I know.
To be fair.
But I'm talking about their judgment of the trend. All right? The second he says the wrong thing, the second that they even, because you'll be the one to tell them, those women are going to shit test you.
Oh, yeah.
And if you fail the shit test and you're still obsessed with them, they're going to be revolted by your mere presence.
I think that when women say that, they mean they need the right guy to be their lover boy. Like, if it's anyone else, you're just going to find it repulsive. If it's the right guy, he can do no wrong in your eyes.
And the men are going to take the wrong lesson from this, because there's going to be a million Anons on the internet that will be gladly obsessed with you and send you 50,000 messages and be like, I'm doing what she asked. What's the problem?
Whatever happened to standing outside of her room with the boombox? Whatever happened to that? And people don't remember that in that scene, she doesn't come to the window. She's still mad at him.
Yeah.
You know? Another one said, it boggles the mind to think people actually buy this "he's so normal now" facade. This weasel would not think twice to F you over in the most inhumane way possible if it meant making a quick dollar or pleasing his masters.
Well, I don't know who his masters are in this context, but I would agree that very likely, many a quirky... The joke used to be that Elon Musk was the I'm not like most girls of billionaires. And it's true of any one of them that's trying to build a cult of personality around themselves, that usually beneath that facade is a ruthless businessman that will absolutely screw you over. And that's not even necessarily... Like, self-interest is part of the human condition. Like... I laugh because pretty much everyone who reaches that level of success would have an interesting story if it was told from the perspective of the people that didn't make it. Right? So I think about all the boring documentaries that get made about like companies and stuff like that. I don't want to watch a documentary about Uber. I want to watch a documentary about the cab companies having to deal with Uber.
We have a 20 from Kenneth Hart. Can I get a shout out for my wife that passed her U.S. registered nurse exam first time? Super proud of her being licensed in 3 continents and will bring 10 years of trauma and ER nursing experience to the USA. Great job, Mrs. Hart.
Congratulations.
Congrats to your wife.
That's awesome.
See, we're having a grand gesture for
Day.
one's wife in the super chats right now.
Yep.
Sort of like Zuckerberg.
Feel free to offer your grand gestures to your significant others right now.
Here.
Right here.
To us.
To us.
It's like
we
when
will
it's
read
someone's
it.
birthday and they
Yep.
tell us that it's their birthday.
Yep.
And then lastly, one person said, this dude really loves his wife. Every other mega billionaire either is a weird sex pest or got divorce raped. No in between except Zuck.
I mean, that or he has like a really bad prenup and he's doing everything to hold on to it. Like, I like the idea that he signed a really shitty prenup.
I don't think they had a prenup at the time. They got
the
married
sa-
very
That's
young.
the same thing as a very bad prenup for him.
They didn't have one. So, or they probably have a post-nup of some kind at this stage. But I like that he's with his day one ride or die bitch, and that's like his first love. She liked something about him that no one else is ever going to understand. And that's just fine. I like that for them.
I'm telling you right now, anytime he's looking anywhere, she's like, eyes up here, Zuck.
But I did just come across the Jeff Bezos meme where he, in revealed text messages, said to Lauren Sanchez, who he was having an affair with at the time, I love you, alive girl.
What?
I love you, comma, alive girl. That's what he said to her in a text message. And everyone took that phrase and ran with it. It became a meme, and they were clowning on Bezos for saying this because it's like, what are you, a robot? Like, why are you calling her alive girl?
Or maybe Mackenzie was just dead to him.
But I actually found that quite touching. I do.
In as much that somebody cheating on their spouse can be touching.
Yes. When you think about the context,
Yeah.
gross, bad, don't endorse that. But in the sentiment, in the spirit of what he was saying, I really think that what he meant is like that Lauren Sanchez has kind of introduced a new verve and a new liveliness to his world, which is so often cold and calculated and businesslike. That really like charmed him, like really like is electrifying to him, and I thought that was cute that he said that.
I see that as nothing more than like sex haze.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, the rest of the text message you can see in full is him.
It's pure lust stage.
Right, yeah.
But
it's human. My point is it's human.
It's a very normal reaction for somebody who's in his position, who's fallen into a loveless marriage and hasn't been willing to do the work. I mean, maybe he was willing to do the work to make it work out, but you know, it's at least a very pretty human reaction for somebody at his stature.
So I voted Bezos in the poll. So
Yes, guys.
I see that he's winning.
He's winning at 65%. If you are just tuning in, guys, we put a poll up today in the live chat asking you, who is the best billionaire at pretending to be human? Is it Mark Zuckerberg or is it Jeff Bezos? You be the judge. Let us know. All right.
Over a decade ago, Casey Anthony was the focal point of a true crime fascination of the nation. And this was after, in 2008, her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee, was reported missing. And she ended up on trial for the alleged murder of her own daughter. That was in 2011. And I actually recall this being a huge topic of conversation in the news. And it was like the perfect thing to bring up at a dinner party, weirdly enough, while the trial was ongoing. As the investigation developed over those few years, it turned to the majority of public sentiment believing that Casey Anthony was guilty. And the stereotype about her was that she was this carefree, young, single mom who killed her daughter so that she could let go of all the responsibilities that came with motherhood. And she was largely vilified by the media and the public. And it turned out, after all, that she was acquitted of those crimes. And now, to this day, she claims that her father actually was responsible for her daughter's death, that Kaylee drowned in their pool and he did not try to resuscitate her, and then blamed her for the death of her daughter. I don't believe that personally, and most people don't believe Casey Anthony's version of events. But now, only a few years after Peacock released a 3-part docuseries about Casey Anthony's side of the story, she's come back to the public eye, launched her own personal TikTok and Substack account, labeling herself as a legal advocate. This is her new gig.
She's going to have to put, like, this is not legal advice on everything she says. There's a 20 there.
Well, apparently it is legal advice. We have a 20 from Ashley Epps. Happy Monday, Brett and Mary. Love my background noise. I'm celebrating losing 50 pounds on a GLP-1 medicine. I know there's a lot of opinions, but I love it. I have a great doctor and go to the gym 5 times per week and count macros.
Getting exercise is important. Make sure that you're staying active. You know, whatever you think of medications and stuff like this, it is obviously a very real they're talking about Ozempic, of course, or something similar to that. You know, if you're pre-diabetic, especially, it's a medication that's being prescribed very widely now. But the best thing you can do on any medication is to take the additional advice that people always seem to forget when you get prescribed anything, which is like, you know, eat well.
Sounds like you're changing your lifestyle in addition to taking this drug. So that's a good sign. And congrats.
All right. Congratulations.
Let's take a look at Casey Anthony's TikTok, a rebrand here.
Here we go.
Today is Saturday, March 1st, 2025. This is my first of probably many recordings on a series that I'm starting. I am a legal advocate. I am a researcher. I've been in the legal field since 2011. And in this capacity, I feel that it's necessary, if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate, that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter. For those of you who don't know, my name is Casey Anthony. My daughter is Kaylee Anthony. My parents are George and Cindy Anthony. This is not about them. This is not in response to anything that they have said or done. That's not to say that I'm not going to respond at some point to some of the things that they have said and done. The whole point of this is for me to begin to reintroduce myself. I'm doing this both personally for me, but in a professional capacity. Moving forward, the majority of what you will see will be me speaking in a professional capacity. My goal is to continue to help give a voice to people, to give people tools and resources that they can utilize so they actually know where they can turn to. So with that, please join me on Substack. If you have questions, I will set up an email address where we can correspond directly. Up until this point, that has never happened. And it's only going to be on a limited basis regarding legal issues, legal matters. One of the main reasons that I'm doing this, there are people close to me who have been targeted and attacked recently. There are also people close to me who have had some recent things occur. And when necessary, people needed to step up, myself included. So as a proponent for the LGBTQ community, for our legal community, women's rights,
Wow.
I feel that it's important that I use this platform that was thrust upon me and now look at as a blessing as opposed to the curse that it has been since 2008. With that, these aren't going to be perfect. They're not going to be edited. Most of the time, they're not going to be short. But I am proverbially standing in the light, embracing this piece, still going to keep my privacy intact, so you will get very comfortable with my car, and I will explain in great detail why it's so important for people to protect their privacy. It's not just important to public figures, it's even more important to private individuals. And with the current climate in our country especially, it's that much more important, which is why I am utilizing the Substack platform. Yes, I am advertising this and publishing this on TikTok, possibly also through other meta platforms, but my intention is to separate from that and showcase even more why Substack is such an important resource for people to utilize moving forward. Anyway, I appreciate your time, and we'll see how this goes.
We made the joke beforehand about desperate conservatives like latching on to just about anybody if they spout anything they kind of agree with. She's going the opposite direction here.
Yeah.
Which is like, she's like, well, who would have me? And you go for marginalized communities.
Right. I have no idea what she was even getting at with her solidarity with the LGBT and women's rights.
What about children's rights advocacy groups? Like the right to keep living.
That was strange that she added that in there. And I
Also,
did joke that if she rebranded herself as some kind of, in tandem with the vibe shift that everyone's talking about, if she rebranded as some kind of MAGA person, I guarantee you she'd have a built-in audience of idiots who buy all of her BS. Yeah. I guarantee it. Not all the Trump supporters, but there is a contingent that if you come out and support Trump, they will support you even if you are allegedly a murderer. I did find her Substack, and it says in her bio here, it has been more than 16 years since my name became a household one. Everyone seems to have an opinion about me and about my life. I am an advocate, a researcher. These are my words. This is my real life. And her most recent post here says, the presumption of innocence is a sacred right afforded to all individuals arrested in this country. That is not an opinion. It is a fact. We are plagued by a rush to judgment before someone even steps foot into a courtroom. Once a verdict is read, however long the process takes, the public must trust that the system worked the way it was intended. I don't know, what's Casey Anthony's opinion about O.J. Simpson then? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Not everyone who is acquitted is innocent. That just means that there wasn't sufficient evidence. It doesn't mean that they're innocent of the crime.
Yeah.
And the public is still perfectly at liberty to come up with whatever opinion they want. Presuming innocence is about a court of law, not about social media.
Yeah.
Obviously. But I looked into some of the details that I had forgotten about this case. So Kaylee Anthony, her daughter, was reported missing back in July 2008. Her body was then found dumped in a laundry bag in the woods close to Casey Anthony's home 6 months after her missing report. It was later revealed her mouth was covered by duct tape, and a coroner reported that she had died by homicide by undetermined means. And Casey, as she told stories that seemingly didn't add up, scrutiny leveled up. She displayed bizarre behavior throughout the investigation and during a court case that drew the attention of millions as though it were a soap opera. And her remains were found in the woods in Florida 6 months since she was last seen by her grandparents. And I know that Kaylee's grandparents later on suspected and openly said that they thought Casey was responsible, although she denied multiple times that she had anything to do with harming her daughter. But she was 22 at the time. She had had a falling out with her parents. And later on, she was portrayed as a party goer who felt burdened by motherhood. There were photos and accounts from her friends suggesting that she preferred drinking, shopping, and nightclubs over being a parent. Her lifestyle choices became a focal point during the investigation and trial, as well as the fact that Casey Anthony is conventionally attractive. Mm-hmm. That was a huge focal point in the case.
There's always, we've talked a lot. I guess we haven't. I shouldn't say we, but like in general, there's been a lot of conversation lately, given what the Luigi of it all.
Yeah.
Women's obsession with conventionally attractive male killers, but there's a point of public fascination towards any woman that's put in that position that's conventionally attractive, just because it seems so far outside the cultural norm.
Right. She also got a fresh tattoo only months after Kaylee went missing, which is hard to explain even if she didn't have anything to do with her murder. Why would you be going out and partying while your 2-year-old daughter is reported missing? That should shatter your entire life, I'd presume. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the public sentiment around Casey Anthony and her guilt or innocence is relatively unchanged. It's just interesting that she's cropping back up and trying to get people to like her again in 2025. Like,
yeah, I mean,
is this like she's trying to say that she was like a victim of cancel culture before cancel culture existed? Like, really?
I mean, I guess what would the alternative be? Would that she finds a job and kind of lives a life of quiet, in the quiet without any public persona?
Yeah.
You'd think that's what most would want in that position, given the negative press. But
she's saying, I have to use this platform that was thrust upon me. She's acting like she's being forced to be a public figure, and that's not true.
Yeah.
So it doesn't do her any favors in terms of public perception.
That's why we do this show, guys. This platform that we've built was like thrust upon me, so I have to dunk on losers on the internet because it's my calling. It really is.
Yeah.
It's my lot in life, as they say. If I
Well,
don't do
look,
this, then who's going to?
As far as I know, Brett has never murdered anyone, and I definitely haven't murdered anyone. Everyone's thought about it, but I haven't done it. And you don't need to worry about that. But I just don't understand what she thought was going to happen in response to this. Like, everyone was going to welcome her with open arms.
She knew this was exactly what's going to happen. The thing is, they're playing the numbers.
Yeah.
For something like this, especially if they're going to leave the comments open and they're clearly not afraid of what people have to say. I mean, I imagine it's a bit like a callus that she's just used to it. If she posts anything, it's not like she's not going to get those comments anyways. And I mean, it doesn't have to be something as grandiose as being someone who was accused of killing their own daughter. If you hold the wrong opinions on the internet, you're going to get a lot of people that dunk on you and hate you. And eventually you just grow numb to all of the comments, right? So she's looking to continue growing her
legal
advocacy career. She just takes the odds. She's like, for every 1,000 people that hate me, maybe there's 1 or 2 that don't. And that's how you build a following, with a built-in audience of the most morbid form. Yeah. But it's the reality of the world on the internet now. It's the way things are.
Team up with Kim Kardashian and get people out of jail and get people acquitted.
I mean, if
start a firm together.
Yeah, like if
she's like, take me seriously.
If Ted Bundy were alive, he'd have a thriving social media presence. Is Ted Bundy dead? Ted Bundy's dead, right?
Dead.
Yeah. If Ted Bundy was alive, he'd be killing it on social media.
Oof.
That wasn't on purpose.
You're serious? That was okay.
He would be, though.
Yeah, it is wild to think about, some people receiving more hate for offensive tweets than Casey Anthony will receive for allegedly murdering a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
That's just the world we live in.
I mean, like, none of this stuff shocks me. Like, did you see the amount of money that was donated to Luigi? It was like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And the women who are waiting outside of every hearing for him, like fangirls that you would see at a Justin Bieber concert. It's insane.
Yeah.
Get a life. Get a job. Who are these people?
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Well, no, here's the thing. Most of them probably have lives, and they're probably well off. They probably have laptop jobs in the 6-figure range.
Trust funds.
Yeah. No, I don't even think that's like, I think they have laptop
like
jobs in the 6-figure range, and they're bored.
This is what they do on their lunch hour.
I'm saying, like, they're bored. They work from home, and they've got the time on their hands to develop a weird obsession. Maybe some of them work in medical billing.
SMH my damn head.
Yep. All right.
MrBeast was receiving a lot of hate over the weekend based on a fake news headline that misquoted him, saying, "Life is so much easier when you're broke." Well, that certainly is rich to hear from MrBeast, of all people, a multi-millionaire content creator. However, that is not actually what he said on his recent appearance on the Diary of a CEO podcast. This actually had quite the inflammatory headline as well. The video for this podcast episode is titled, "MrBeast, if you want to be liked, don't help people." That probably is a direct quote.
I noticed they
because-
updated the headline from Kotaku.
Yes, they did. They also changed it. So the headline originally came from Kotaku's report about his interview on Diary of a CEO. They changed it from "Life is easier when you're broke" to "Life is easy when you wake up in your own bed and work 15 hours."
See, he's making it.
Update
You know what it is he's making everybody feel self-conscious because they can't put it. So I just played the video last week about internalized capitalism and how if you have the day off and you're not, and you feel guilty about not working on your day off, that's internalized capitalism.
Yeah.
So he's making them feel guilty. They're like, well, I work 12 hours a day. I don't work 15 hours a day. Fuck this guy. We're gonna write a hit piece about him.
He's humble bragging a little bit.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I mean, life is really easy, guys, when you wake up and, you're only working, 15, 16 hours a day?
So this headline from Kotaku drew a lot of ire toward MrBeast, and he responded to it on Twitter saying, "A news site lied and said I said life is so much easier when you're broke, which I didn't say. Now I'm waking up to millions of people believing the lie and hating me. Being famous is so much fun." Thumbs up emoji.
Very sad he is.
So I guess he wants people to like him. He responded to his tweet with the actual clip from the interview. Do you have that clip?
Yeah, I do. Hold on. The crisis meter isn't working.
Oh, it's always something, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he said, "Such a shame that only a small percentage of people that saw the slanderous article will see this. Sigh."
Yeah, I got this here. So hold on a second, and we'll see if we can get the crisis meter back. I refreshed it. It should still be working, but it is not. But
I hope so.
here we go. Let's watch this clip here. It's for some reason it's in fast, like they sped it up.
He sped it up.
Yeah, here we go.
It's really killing me, to be honest. It was like so much easier when you're, bro, if you don't travel.
So what he said is it's so much easier, pause,
Bro,
when you're, so let's start it over again.
It's really killing me, to be honest. It was like so much easier when you're, bro, if you don't travel constantly, life is so easy when you just wake up in your own bed and like waking up in your own bed and working 15 hours in, your office, whatever. So easy compared to.
So if you heard that, he does.
Okay, so then they go into
Right.
analysis there.
The famous streamer opened up about health struggles, his obsessive grind set, and receiving death threats in this interview. So here was his full quote. "The more good you do, the more people think you're secretly evil." He talked about his mental health, saying, "If my mental health were a priority, I wouldn't be as successful as I am. We were not meant to receive this kind of feedback from basically anyone, anywhere in the world."
He's right. Like 110%. Like you don't even have to be even close to his level of success for that to be true either. Like it is 100% true that you were not designed to hear the opinions of every single, the thing is that people phrase it on the internet as if they're just giving you constructive feedback. The thing is, though, is constructive feedback was meant to come from people whose opinions you actually valued. Right? Hence the constructive part is like, I can take it as constructive criticism because I know going in that it is not done out of malice. Well, now you have people sprinkle in constructive criticism alongside the people that just want to hate for the sake of hating and the people that dislike you on principle, whether it's, especially if you're in this realm here, because a lot of people are going to dislike you just based on what they perceive your political affiliation to be or beliefs to be. So you're going to get a lot of it's not acting in good faith, right? And we were not designed before the internet, believe it or not, like a lot of people, you wouldn't really hear a lot of negative stuff about yourself unless you were screwing up at work or not getting your schoolwork done on time. Like maybe your parents gave you some critiques. Oh, what are you doing with your life and stuff like that? It's your parents. You're expecting that from them. You've developed a relationship with them. That means that you can get through that. But now you open yourself up to endless critique all the time. And people just weren't designed to handle that.
Yeah, and they weren't designed to differentiate the hate from the constructive
Exactly.
criticism. We have a 20 from Zach Hates YouTube. "Brett, Suits is so awesome. Went to bed at 4 a.m. because I had to keep watching last night. Tonight is the trial in season 2 about the document Donna destroyed. What a great character. Thanks again for the recommendation. Let's go PCC."
Yes, Suits is great. Donna is great in that show. That whole I really fell off after season 5, but I don't have high hopes for the reboot, or not the reboot, I'm sorry, the sequel show, the spinoff that's being done on NBC right now, says the pilot was a bit messy and all over the place tonally, but you'll always have that first season. I also think not just Donna, but Jessica, Mike, Lewis, Harvey, they're all great characters. So enjoy. It's one of the best things in the world. Like when I see people liking shows that I suggest, I'm like, I wish I could watch that again for the first time.
And then you never take suggestions.
And then I never
Ironic, isn't it?
I took the Paradise suggestion, and I'm slowly making my way through that. I'm like halfway through episode 2.
Well, to your point about how our brains just aren't built for receiving that level of feedback,
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think that is why so many influencers, streamers, YouTubers, whatever, get to a point of no return and end up in an echo chamber where people are only praising them and they're surrounded by yes men. And I think that that's the world most people imagine Mr. Beast to be in. Like that he's just surrounded by a bunch of henchmen.
I mean, in the
who
real world, that might be true.
cater to his whims and don't criticize him. And from the looks of it, he actually didn't realize the level of trouble that he was in with his association with Chris Tyson, and didn't realize the actual threat that posed to his brand, especially having so many young people and kids following him. It's because you get to a saturation point with bad faith comments and good faith criticism where it all starts to look the same.
Well, eventually you just start telling everyone to fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's
exactly.
that's the way. Like whenever if people and I'm that way because I just don't want to change.
Yeah.
Just F off. I don't care.
But he could see perfectly good faith criticism of his association with Chris Tyson, and at a certain point, it would look the same thing. It looked like the same thing as someone calling Chris Tyson a slur.
I mean,
it
we're
would
not
all
even-
start to blend together.
And then you have to get into like concern trolling,
Yeah.
like the type of person who's like, oh, look, bro, not a good look.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that, like a person could come to you completely in good faith and say something like that, but a concern troll looks a heck of a lot like that if you don't know how to tell the difference.
So we get to this point in the interview where he's talking about the demands of his job. He claims, Mr. Beast claims that his job was killing him because he doesn't ever stop working. I work every hour my eyes are awake. The average person does not want to live this life. In my head, just working all the time, and they would probably ask themselves, why am I working all the time? I don't do literally anything else. It's harder for Mr. Beast to work beyond the human need to sleep, and he was also dealing with health struggles. I just get sick all the time. I get random rashes and things like that. It's pretty brutal, to be honest, and it randomly clears up sometimes and just makes you very sick, very tired, hurts like crazy. It feels like someone's stabbing me in the gut with a knife constantly.
Here's the problem. The current socio-political climate in this country, you'll not be rewarded for any of that because of your wealth. You could be rewarded of that. Like people could be really pumped about all of that and tell you how much your life sucks and how much they wish you were not struggling so much if you were poor. If you were poor, all of those criticisms or all of those things that are happening to you would be considered valid. But since you're not poor, they're going to tell you to shut the fuck up.
Your problems are
And one of
fake
the things I've
problems.
said from the beginning on this show is like, look, when you struggle is relative. Person to person struggle is relative. So you cannot pretend like rich people don't also have their own struggles. The only problem is most rich people don't understand that to the rest of us, to most people, they just don't want to hear it because their concern is usually financial. So look, just because somebody has a bunch of money doesn't mean they don't have family trouble or problems at work. It's just that most people don't want to hear it because they're struggling on a much more base level. And there is a certain level of decorum that you'd think that they would understand. But it doesn't
hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, but it doesn't make the struggle any less real to them. It just makes them less, I guess, palatable to the rest of us.
But it's true. Mo money, mo problems. And this is the point where they start throwing shade at Mr. Beast. Despite the pain, mental health problems, and death threats, all this work has made MrBeast a lot of money, right? Well, probably, but he claims that he has less than $1 million in his bank account.
I believe that because
Which
he
is-
reinvests it all, I'm sure.
Less than I expected, though there are some really big numbers between $1 and $999,000. But while it's clear that MrBeast has money and a lot of it, if you ask him about it, it seems like he doesn't like being rich. He says, it was so much easier when you don't travel constantly. Life is so easy when you just wake up in your own bed and work 15 hours, compared with all this effing bullshit where I'm like, I don't know the time zone I'm in. I don't know what place I'm in.
Again,
some days I'm going to 10 a.m. Other days I'm going to 5 p.m.
To the rest of us, those aren't the same concerns, and they can't jive with you on that. They just can't. They're like, bro, I'm
Yeah.
looking where I need to know where my next meal is going to come from. Bro, I need to figure out how to pay off my student loans. All of the real world struggles that most people have that are based around finances also feel more dire. Okay? It's very different to not know where your next meal is going to come from than wondering what time zone you're in. And pretending like they're the same is ridiculous.
Well, now that MrBeast called Kotaku out, failing Kotaku issued their correction at the end of this article saying a prior version incorrectly quoted MrBeast saying easier when you're broke when speaking about the challenges of his lifestyle. The misquote came from a transcript provided by PR for the Diary of a CEO podcast ahead of the episode's airing. MrBeast has since clarified his statement in a post on X, and we've updated the quote and article headline accordingly. So allegedly, this is actually the fault of whoever is doing PR for the podcast he appeared on.
Yeah.
Not the fault of Kotaku. But with Kotaku's personal track record, I find that hard to believe. They do have it out for MrBeast for whatever reason. He just grinds their gears, and
Yeah.
they have a real hate boner for him.
Yep.
I get it because he's kind of annoying. Like, I don't think that he's super charismatic and likable, personally, but I don't really understand where the hatred and outrage comes from with
Yeah.
some people towards him. It's not even like they can hate on him for being a billionaire. He's not even a billionaire.
Nope.
He can't be really put in that
Manual.
specific group. Thank you.
I set it off manually. One crisis party.
That'll have to do for now.
It will.
MrBeast is never going to understand how hard it is to dance to crisis parties.
Seriously, bro.
For money. He's never going to understand our struggle.
It's sad.
It's really a first world problem.
I guess this is one of those things that I always end up, it's very, the struggles that normal people have are valid. The things that bother rich people are also valid. And when you start casting off another person's struggles as non-existent, not to say that they're not that yours are not also important, but when we start casting them off as unimportant, we end up in the weird class struggle where people say, oh, and this is a very long way to this path, but now we're at a point where they're saying, like, well, that CEO worked for a medical company or for an insurance company. He deserved to die. Because of his insurance, right? Like there are haves and have-nots in this country, and the mindset that separates them is that a lot of people that are less than well-to-do in this country still have the desire to grow and do better and make more. But there's also a growing consensus in this country of people who don't want to try because they feel like the game is rigged. I can't even say that's necessarily that it's hard to believe that people get there.
Yeah.
Like when you look at the rising costs of housing and medical care and all of the things.
Even eggs.
And eggs and all of that. It's not hard to understand where the sentiment comes from, even if I disagree with the final conclusion.
Right. Yeah, I have noticed that the outrage is getting to a boiling point, and
So, like,
I don't know what can be done to change it.
So when MrBeast airs his concerns, I'm not saying that those concerns aren't relevant. I'm saying that when it comes pragmatically, when it comes to promoting your brand, most people just don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
It's not to say that they're
However,
not real.
a lot of people actually do want to hear it because he did an appearance on this podcast to talk about his struggles, and millions of people tuned in to watch.
Again,
So
it's like
there is an actual
it's
interest.
like the Casey Anthony thing. It's like for every 5 that dislike you, you'll get 1 that likes you. So it doesn't really matter. He does end up everywhere. He does end up everywhere. And yes, eggs are expensive because they called like a gazillion chickens last year. So shocking.
Bird flu.
Yeah. All right.
We're fine because we have Chicken City.
Exactly. All right. Let's move on. What would you like to see, cringe or cute of the day?
Up to you.
All right, we'll start with cringe. I actually have my own to contribute as
Oh.
well to cringe today. Did you see
Nice.
this one?
I have
It's a prayer dance for all of those affected
Oh.
by the fires. This is going to
Lovely.
get all the houses rebuilt.
Amazing. Oh. Wow.
My house is already rebuilt, they said.
So is this her interpretation?
I guess this is an
of,
interpretive dance.
what the fire was doing in the woods.
I mean that, or it's maybe it's some type of physical manifestation of grief.
Yeah, I just heard that magically a bunch of houses just reappeared in the Palisades.
Well, I mean low income housing because
yeah,
the government's going to make them build low income housing.
incredible. A philanthropist.
Yes, it
truly.
is. All right. And then we have this one. Here we go. If you're listening rather
This is
than
the
watching,
under the arm challenge.
here we go.
You can do the under the arm challenge for $1,000.
What is that?
Arm be out like
Why the hell is she going to the grocery store in high heels?
Yeah, what the hell are you doing in Walmart?
this, and you gonna
Like this is giving staged vibes. Nobody goes to Walmart in high heels.
I don't know.
I mean, Cookie Monster pajamas maybe, but high heels.
We need to raise our standards.
Yeah.
Start wearing
avoid my
stilettos at
arm for
Walmart.
60 seconds with the eyes closed. $1,000.
Okay, let's do it.
Then you can do it?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll be for a minute and eyes closed.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready?
And go. 55 seconds.
So he walks away. And she just looks like she's dancing to music in her head.
It would be better if you at least gave her the money.
Like they didn't even try to stop her while they're walking by. She's still going. And then she she looks around. And then it sinks in. You're not getting the
You think you do-
$1,000.
That might be the worst you've ever shown me.
Really?
Oh.
I would think the musical performances are worse for you.
that was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah. She didn't even win the money after all that. Sad.
Well, my gosh. All right, let's
We have some palate cleansers.
We do. This one's from Spastic Fugliness, which is still one of my favorite usernames. Caught Shadow in an embarrassing moment, but he played it off like a boss.
Aw. How
So-
is that embarrassing?
So
Looks
this will
cool.
actually happen. So sometimes Toast will try to jump up on the bed and just miss.
Oh yeah, I've heard that like
Toast
cats
will-
actually feel embarrassed.
Toast will jump, hit the bed like Wile E. Coyote, fall, and then get up and walk around like nothing happened.
Like I hope they didn't
Yeah.
see that.
Like there's like a Dane Cook bit back in the day about that. I completely forgot what it is, but it plays it off like nothing happened.
Yeah, cats do feel emotions of like embarrassment,
Well, that is a very cute
which
cat.
is really cute.
Make sure you submit your cats, guys. You know what?
We
We're gonna
love
do two.
cats.
We're gonna do 2 today.
Okay,
Just because we did 2 cringes.
that's only fair.
This one's from Brian Hendrick. This is Goldie. We fostered her for 2 years. Today we officially adopted her. She's a little drowsy from the stress and shots at the vet today.
Oh,
Oh.
looking very tired.
Well, you know what? It's easy to be tired when you have a good home.
Yeah.
Place to lay your head.
I keep seeing these signs like missing puppy, missing kitten
I
everywhere.
saw one the other day. So I've been making it a point to go for more walks. You know, like it's better for I can't really run because I still have like a knee that just won't abide. Skating works, jogging not so much. But I saw like a missing cat or a missing dog poster the other day, and it was they purposely picked the cutest picture you could ever find. Like they knew that if you saw that picture, you were just gonna like, oh maybe I saw it. You were gonna actively go look for the
Yeah.
dog because you're like, I will not allow that dog to be missing.
So sad.
Very sad. So, all right.
Sorry to end Cute of the Day on a downer, but
let's get started.
we'll move on. The Oscars aired over the weekend, and it was honestly a massive snooze fest. I was hoping for something approximating the high-octane action of the Slapgate incident, something to just spice things up, but nothing really interesting happened. I did note, however, that a movie called ANORA, starring actress Mikey Madison, took home huge wins. It won Best Picture, and Mikey Madison took home the Oscar for Best Actress, Best Lead Actress. Yep. And I noticed that she actually dedicated this award to the sex worker community because the movie ANORA centers around a sex worker, a stripper / prostitute. And she's talked about preparing for this role, going to pole dancing classes, and getting friendly with the sex worker community and getting to know these women.
One of my favorite memes, it says, in preparation for his role in Space Jam, Michael Jordan became a professional basketball player, actually winning several world NBA championships.
I never saw comments that came off as so out of touch as Mikey Madison's, though, because obviously she is a privileged Hollywood elite at this point, and she is framing sex work as some kind of empowering lifestyle decision instead of something that destroys lives and disempowers women who participate in it. And
why does everything have to be a
why
does everything have to be a community?
Yeah, it's not a community. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not in the podcasting community.
No. If it's truly just a line of work, why are we talking about this community?
Like, we need less community.
It's weird. It's really weird that she's using this type of language. She also, earlier in the month of February, dedicated her BAFTA for Best Actress also to the sex worker community, saying, "I just want to say that I see you. You deserve respect and human decency. I will always be a friend and ally, and I implore others to do the same."
There's nothing more patronizing than calling yourself an ally.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, oh,
actually,
you're
never
great.
mind. Never mind.
Aren't you
I'm gonna
virtuous?
need you guys all to put your fists in the chat up as allies to the podcasting community.
Yes.
How else would we know our worth if you can't put a fist up and signal your allyship to this marginalized
need to feel validated right now. We are marginalized as members of the podcasting community. But she dedicated the Best Actress Oscar to the sex worker community as well, saying, "I just want to recognize and honor the sex worker community. I will continue to support and be an ally. All of the incredible people, the women that I have had the privilege of meeting from that community, have been one of the highlights of this incredible experience." And she also recognized the breathtaking work of fellow nominees. "I'm honored to be recognized alongside all of you. This is a dream come true." Fists in the chat.
Fists in the chat.
Fists in the chat.
Which
for
is
the
appropriate
podcasters.
given what they're talking about here.
Yes. Solidarity. Allyship. I'm glad that we have you in our corner. You know, point of personal privilege. As a podcaster, it's really meaningful to see this gesture of solidarity.
Thank you for those of
from
you
all
who got
you.
my fisting joke. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And I saw a lot of people responding to Mikey Madison's comments.
Are there people who do they make movies about drug addicts? Like, thank you for those of you in the drug addict community. Like, I get it if you're talking
For,
about
like, the
the
Crow
recovery.
reboot?
Yeah. For those of you in the fuckboy drug addict community, we see you.
No
you are
way.
valid.
I haven't
but
seen
I
that
guess
before.
I guess you could make it about the community around recovery. But even then, like, you wouldn't signal yourself as an ally to those in recovery.
No.
Like, if somebody said to me, I'm your ally, I'd have been like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, it's so condescending, and it shows no real understanding of the people that she's talking to. Because everyone knows, with the exception of maybe a very small subset of high-end escorts or, you know, webcam models or whatever, most of these women have turned to sex work as a last resort, or they are paying off impossible debt to a pimp who controls their entire life, or they are dependent on this money because they have a drug addiction that keeps them in this line of so-called work. And it is not glamorous. It's not empowering. It's not any of those things. And I don't even think that the aim of this movie, ANORA, was to portray it that way. One person who saw it remarked, "I watched this movie and cried because I thought it was such a powerful film which shows how sex work disempowers women. To see the people involved spin it into a sex work is valid shtick is disappointing to the point where I can't enjoy it anymore." So they kind of put this positive spin on it after the fact to make it palatable to the Academy community that was voting, and it worked. And people also pointed out the irony of Mikey Madison winning the Best Actress Oscar when one of the fellow nominees was Demi Moore for her performance in The Substance, which was a commentary on the pressures of aging as a woman, especially one in the public eye. Demi Moore is 62 years old, and Mikey Madison is a relatively new young actress. And they're claiming that Mikey Madison's win is proof more of the concept behind The Substance, that older women are dismissed and disregarded and devalued in society because they are not as attractive. Here were some of the tweets in response. Mikey Madison, for context, is 25.
So are young, poor men.
True.
I don't care.
Including in Hollywood, younger men receive less accolades than older men.
I don't care.
Here were some of the tweets. "The fact that Demi Moore lost to a better version of herself, Mikey Madison, who is younger, more beautiful, feels satirical, and it proves the Academy wasn't ready for The Substance." Another one said, "Wow, Demi Moore getting passed up for a younger, brighter star. Someone should make a movie about this." Demi Moore losing to Mikey Madison is basically the plot of The Substance. The point of The Substance was that older women in Hollywood are sidelined and ignored for young, new, beautiful ones. And then that exact thing happened to Demi Moore at the Oscars.
I guess I do kind of, my heart goes out to him a little bit, because it's a lot easier to have the F you attitude when you're younger and more defiant. So for the young men who come into the industry with no accolades, no clout, no capital, no nothing, they can have this, it doesn't matter, I'm going to succeed attitude that comes from youth. Almost like ignorance is a great thing to have when you're young, because you don't know how much the deck is stacked against you.
Yeah.
But when you get older and you had all of that stuff when you were younger because it was inherent to your beauty, then there's going to breed resentment that I can almost understand if I didn't think that your maturity should outweigh it.
Well, I think that people also developed a little bit of a parasocial fixation on Demi Moore with the release of The Substance, because even when she was at the Golden Globes, seemingly dissing Kylie Jenner.
Oh, I saw that.
They were saying, oh, it's because she's sending Kylie a message about toxic beauty standards, as if Demi Moore wrote and directed The Substance instead of just starring in it. Like, after all, she is just a pretty face. And yeah, she's a pretty 62-year-old woman. And she had nothing to do with the message behind the movie. It's so-called deep, and it's Oscar bait, and they ended up winning one for, I think, the best makeup and effects design.
That
which
makes sense.
Makes more sense for it anyway.
Maybe best makeup effects. I think best visual effects went to Dune 2.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's about the
best
makeup.
Sound design,
Mm-hmm.
Like,
because it was a body horror movie.
There's just a reason why successful male actors are less annoying, because they know that they don't have the grievance and they know nobody cares. Like, an actor, like the male actor who struggles to succeed gets about as much as like, man, took a lot of work, but finally got here. And that's it. And that's so innocuous that somebody can like let that imprint on themselves and see a little bit of their own struggle in it, even if it's nothing alike.
Sure.
Whereas the very specific struggle that women are talking about in this is only akin to Hollywood. and industries where your beauty is most important. The idea that you struggle when you're young and you work to succeed is something that even women can understand, depending on the field of study or place they go to work. But the idea that I had it all given to me because I was beautiful when I was younger, and then I was working against the clock, that's just a very unique thing that isn't going to resonate with everyone and comes off as sour grapes later. I'm not trying to be rude to anyone, but I'm just saying there's a reason why a certain one just seems more palatable when you see them gathering an award and giving a speech about it. Also, I'm sick of movies with messages. I think from now on, movies should just, I used to hate the idea of AI making movies. We need 10 years of movies that have no plot whatsoever. Just bangs and explosions that they can't explain away as some type of critique on Zelensky and capitalism.
Well, none of those movies are ever going to be recognized by the Oscars anyway.
Well, they're stupid, so.
It's just, I don't know. It's not like it even matters that much. People are reading into the Mikey Madison win too deeply. Ultimately, it was seen as a way to pander to a different marginalized group.
Yeah.
And that was going to be true no matter who won.
But there was other stuff that happened as well.
Yes. Conan O'Brien was hosting the Oscars and did the opening monologue. And one of the jokes that he cracked really stuck with people. It was about Drake and his recent feud with Kendrick Lamar. He came in halfway through the broadcast and said this. Let's just show the clip.
Yep, here we go.
Well, we're halfway through the show, which means it's time for Kendrick Lamar to come out and call Drake a pedophile.
They're just yucking it up.
Don't worry, I'm lawyered up.
Yeah.
They found that hilarious. That was a knee slapper. They were just dying laughing in the crowd. And a lot of people didn't take kindly to that.
To be fair, I think Conan O'Brien is getting mostly positive reviews for his hosting of the
Honestly,
Oscars.
he's great. I hate late night hosts, and he's always
he's
been
about
my favorite.
Him and Craig Ferguson are the only ones that people think back on fondly.
Yeah.
Like in current year.
Yeah. Well, Xavier DeRusso said, "I hate how we have completely desensitized the word pedophile." Another one said, "So pedophilia is a joke now, and Drake is getting crucified on every stage worldwide with no proof or actual accusations, and actual criminals are laughing about this." I think they're referring to people like Diddy not receiving the same level of scrutiny.
Actually,
did we land in some dystopian dimension?
No, what you're forgetting is that in Hollywood, they just don't actually think it's that big of a problem. Remember when Sound of Freedom was coming out, they were actually talking about how the movie Sound of Freedom was a right-wing QAnon dad fantasy of saving the day rather than acknowledging the actual issue of child trafficking to, because I'm connecting it because it's child trafficking for the purpose of selling them to adults. That's a very real problem. It's a very real thing that a lot of people, depending on their political affiliation, would like you to just pretend like it's not happening or that it's not as big of a deal as it is, which is, of course, absurd.
Yeah, I don't think the issue here is that we as a society are desensitized to the word or the, crime of pedophilia. It's that Hollywood specifically is desensitized to it, and there is a special concentration of predators in their industry, which they're fully aware of and have no intention of changing.
All of the ones that are in that industry that aren't then have no choice but to react brashly because they're sick of being accused of it when they aren't doing anything.
Yeah, and as for Drake, do you feel that he's being unfairly targeted by these types of jokes?
He sucks at responding, so he gets what's coming to him.
I think compared to Diddy, though, obviously the accusations against Diddy are far more credible, and yet he is the target of, none of this pop culture conversation and joking and mockery, right?
Well,
Drake is getting the lion's share of the mockery, even though Diddy has the credible accusations.
He wakes up every day and he's like, why did Millie Bobby Brown have to say that?
Well,
I'm
glad that she did.
If you don't know what we're talking about, she admitted that she, when she was 14, Drake would text her.
Or something. Like, she was maybe even younger than that. They were texting.
I thought it was younger than that.
They were texting about boys, okay? there is no reason that you should even have the phone number of a child, let alone be talking to her about dating. Super weird, but I'm glad that she said it at the time so we know the truth about him. Aside from that, one of the cringiest moments at the Oscars was Zoe Saldana's acceptance speech for Best Supporting Actress in Emilia Perez. And people actually didn't expect her to receive anything for this performance because of the association with Carla Gascon and those offensive tweets that resurfaced.
What I found out, those Oscar votes were locked before that scandal came out.
Well, I think that
they weren't allowed to change their vote.
No,
So-
I'm pretty sure that they closed. They started before the voting started before it came out, but the voting ended after.
No, from what maybe
According to something I saw from Variety.
Maybe I got misreported last night, but from what I was told last night, that all of the voting was done.
They were talking to Oscars voters after the controversy came up,
But
and
you
they
can't
were
change
saying
your vote. What they're saying is, like, for the
Yeah.
people that voted already,
Yes.
they couldn't go back through and change their vote.
Yes.
So voting might have still been open.
Yeah.
So that might have affected the votes of people who had not yet submitted. But the
Right.
people that had already submitted their votes couldn't change them.
Right, it was too little too late.
Yeah.
But Zoe Saldana did not address any of that controversy in her acceptance speech and instead started crying about being a proud child of immigrant parents. And she just really started screaming during her acceptance speech. It was quite
Don't
something
worry,
to
that's
behold.
not Zoe Saldana.
That's her husband.
Here we
He has
go.
luscious locks of hair.
Country in 1961. My grandmother came to this country in 1961. I am a proud child of immigrant parents.
Did they come here legally?
I wonder.
Because if they came here legally, there's no foul on the play. Nobody has a problem with that.
With dreams and dignity and hardworking hands, and I am the first American of Dominican origin to accept an Academy Award, and I know I will not be the last. I hope the fact that I'm getting an award for a role where I got to sing and speak in Spanish. My grandmother, if she were here, she would be so delighted. This is for my grandmother, Argentina CC. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, they held a shot on her.
They cut to Carla, which I didn't expect. But yeah, Saldana had already broken into tears before the beginning of that clip.
In a world
started.
of Zoe Saldana's, be
She
a
was-
Rosario Dawson.
She
She's
was
less annoying.
She was screaming.
Yeah.
Her voice was breaking, and it was actually just like
You know what we
kind of
need?
embarrassing.
We need more like Irish people of like Irish winners to be like, I come from a family of immigrants. Because that's what they would have done
It's insane.
50 years ago, 60 years ago. It is reform.
Yeah, Conan O'Brien is going to thank the audience because he's a child of Irish immigrants. And in
We
case,
built this city with our bare hands.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do in this ongoing cultural vibe shift that everyone is talking about because the Oscars actually did a land acknowledgement for the indigenous peoples where this event is hosted.
Yes, here we go.
We gather in celebration of the Oscars on the ancestral lands of the Tongva, Tataviam, and Chumash peoples, the traditional caretakers of this water and land. We honor and pay our respects to indigenous communities here and around the world.
I don't
Like,
use the
really?
term. I don't use the term shit lib often, but my fucking god, like, I mean, I'm a shit lib in a lot of ways, but just not nearly as cringy.
I mean, yeah, we make fun of the term woke, but the term woke exists because of people like this. There's, I mean, it's just, it
here's the
won't
thing.
die.
And here's the thing. The issue that most people have is like the actual act of honoring somebody isn't a 15-second sound bite at the Oscars in your dress that probably cost tens of thousands of dollars and your jewelry that had to be rented from jewelers because it's so expensive and you have to bring it back afterwards. You're disconnected from reality. You're disconnected from average everyday people of every race, gender, creed, and color. Everybody hates you. Like,
Yeah, and prove to me that this is anything more than a virtue signal by actually giving the land back. Yeah. If you're not going to do that, I don't want to hear it. It's so hypocritical. If they actually believe that they're conducting the Oscars ceremony on stolen land from the indigenous peoples of whatever the fuck, give the land back then. Otherwise, shut your mouths. It's just, that seems more offensive, right? Yeah. Than anything. Just address it or don't. There was also a very strange interaction between Halle Berry and Adrian Brody on the red carpet at the Oscars, where she goes up and kisses him on the mouth in front of his wife.
Yes, there's a lot of history in this story, but here we go.
And his wife is clapping. Oh my God. They're fist bumping.
She actually kissed the wife next.
She says to his wife, "Sorry, Georgina, but I gotta do it." This was a callback to a moment where Adrian Brody actually kissed Halle Berry at the Oscars in 2003.
Yeah, I watched an interview clip where she said, like, she didn't say anything bad. She just said, I was like, what the F is going on? And then it just kept going on. And then the interviewer was like, so was it a good kiss? And she's like, I never got that far. I just kept thinking, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, why did he do that? It's just because it was 2003 and you couldn't get canceled for that by then?
But it's like, well, I've heard that when you're rich, they let you do it.
When you're a star, they let you do it.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard in Hollywood.
He got away with it. I guess that she remembers it fondly, and she decided to pay him back.
I mean,
the same respect.
He should feel very lucky because in 2017, this could have gone a whole different way. If her career had taken a bigger dive, we could be looking at a very different story right now. Perhaps there is no Adrian Brody in the Brutalist if 2017 comes out and she retroactively decides that it offended her.
But look, Me Too allegations aside, if I were his wife, if I were Georgina, I mean, earrings would be flying.
But apparently
it would get crazy.
They did this beforehand.
They agreed on this beforehand.
Then she kissed Georgina afterwards.
Right, they agreed on it beforehand because Hollywood is full of weirdos who have no respect for their own relationships and monogamy and the sanctity of marriage.
Like, this is probably nothing compared to the Eyes Wide party they were probably at right after this.
I get it. This is just the surface level. You're just scratching the surface of their degeneracy. But seriously, normal people can't relate to this. Yeah. Like, if I were standing there watching Halle Berry bound up to my husband and kiss him to make a big stunt at the Oscars, her weave would be snatched in seconds. Like, it would turn into a violent catfight.
It's a 20.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. said Sean Baker loves movies featuring characters in the sex business. His last 5 movies featured main or prominent characters in the industry. Seems like he is in a rut, and the rest of America will never watch his movies.
I mean, he's going to keep getting awards, though, so I don't think that's actually a rut.
Well,
Didn't he win like 4 awards last night or 5?
If it's proving successful for him, why would he stop?
I do understand that not everybody cares about box office, right? There's plenty of artists who they don't care about you, the audience. They care about respect from their peers, and that's their own career path. If they can make a living doing it, more power to them. But it doesn't mean we're not going to make fun of you.
So I understand that Adrian Brody won the Oscar for Best Lead Actor. Yeah. In comparison to Timothy Chalamet, who was also a shoo-in for playing Bob Dylan.
I mean, I could have, that would have really been the end of days for me if a movie based on Bob Dylan got
starring Timothy Chalamet.
I mean, I don't even really hate Timothy Chalamet, but Bob Dylan shouldn't be the victor or the winner of any awards, as we all know.
Well, some people were
Unless
very
it's the
offended.
boring awards.
A lot of people were offended that Adrian Brody won over Timothy Chalamet because Timothy really dedicated himself to the method acting. Mm-hmm. He gained weight for the role. He did like singing lessons for the role of Bob Dylan, and they believed in his performance. But Adrian Brody won despite using AI.
Yeah.
I don't even know why people care about these debates anymore. Yeah. What capacity did he even employ AI?
They said that they used AI to help smooth over the accent. I forget what accent it was, but yeah, like they used it for the accent.
How do you feel about that?
I could not care less. Every
like,
time
do you
I hear,
think it should factor into whether he deserves the award?
No, I don't care.
Because it's part of his performance that wasn't up to snuff.
I get 110%. I get 110% why artists complain about AI, but they're so self-important when they do it that I can't bring myself to care.
Yeah.
Like one day, I won't have this job anymore because they'll just drop an AI person in our place. And I'll be out of a job, and I won't expect anyone to cry for me.
Well, look, here's something that I also thought was a self-important display. Not a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but Adam Sandler showed up to the Oscars wearing basketball shorts and a hoodie.
Zelensky would approve.
It was so Zelensky coded.
So,
he's reheating Zelensky's nachos.
Allow me to put my own hypocrisy on display. Zelensky not okay. Adam Sandler okay. Because Zelensky didn't make a bunch of movies I liked.
Well,
and he's an actor, so he's not as good of an actor as Adam Sandler.
I would say the Oval Office demands a little more respect and dignity than the Oscars anyway. So maybe Adam Sandler is treating the Oscars with exactly the amount of seriousness it deserves.
I mean,
by dressing like a slob, you know?
That's a good point.
Why is your money gun doing that? Oh my gosh, is it possessed?
Things are going weird. Whatever. Anyways, maybe the reason maybe if Bob Dylan didn't have such a shitty voice, they would have had to use AI for him too. Maybe the problem was that Timothée Chalamet took singing lessons, then had to learn how to unsing because Bob Dylan doesn't sing. He warbles aimlessly.
Right. But you know, your polemic on this is that Adam Sandler earned the right to look like a slob everywhere.
Plus, he's not like, if he wants my money, he gets my money by virtue of offering something to me. Zelensky just takes my money.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or at least our printed money.
I think I'm leaning toward your read on the situation.
Plus, it's Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler rules. Now, I still don't know how I feel about Happy Gilmore too, but.
There was one moment from the Oscars that a lot of people liked. This is being called the most wholesome speech from the Oscars this year. Kieran Culkin went up to accept the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. And during his speech, he gave a huge shout out to his wife, who was sitting there watching in the audience. And he used it as an opportunity to tell her, hey, we're going to have more kids after this. I'm holding you to it. She had promised him that if he won an Oscar, they would have 2 more kids, building their family to a family of 6. So let's take a look at this.
I could just picture the Evie articles before it even came out.
Oh, yeah. People are loving this.
Oh, my God. That's crazy. I don't even know Mr. Downey, sir. This, thanks for handing this to me. This means a lot coming from you. Thank you. He's right, by the way. Jeremy, you're amazing in The Apprentice.
Let's skip forward because it goes like a minute and a half in. And they also censored him because he said the F word on television.
Okay, hold on. By the way, they said that the crisis meter server was down for maintenance, which is why that wasn't working.
Oh, that's annoying. Yeah. I feel like that's happened before.
I have to thank the kid from her because I very stupidly publicly said that I want a 3rd kid from her because she said if I won the award, she would give. You're really good people. You gave it your best shot. I love you, Mom. I love you, Jazz. This is, I have to thank my wife, Jazz, for absolutely everything, for giving me my favorite people in the world. Please don't play the music because I want to tell a really quick story about Jazz. About a year ago, I was on a stage like this and I very stupidly publicly said that I want a 3rd kid from her because she said if I won the award, she would give me the kid. It turns out she said that because she didn't think I was going to win. But and people came up to her and were like, you know, really annoying her. I think it got to her. But anyway. After the show, we're walking through a parking lot. She's holding the Emmy. We're trying to find our car. Emily, you were there, so you're a witness. And she goes, oh, God, I did say that. I guess I owe you a 3rd kid. And I turned to her and I said, really, I want 4. And she turned to me. I swear to God this happened. It was just over a year ago. She said, I will give you 4 when you win an Oscar. I held my hand out. She shook it. And I have not brought it up once until just now. You remember that, honey? You do? Okay. Then I just have this to say to you, Jazz. Love of my life, ye of little faith. No pressure. I love you. I'm really sorry I did this again. And let's get cracking on those kids. What do you say?
All right.
Like, that was kind of sweet.
It was pretty wholesome.
I'm going to admit that they got me. They got me this time. We have a couple of 20s. The Crafty Raccoon said Zoe Sultana wasn't as bad as Sally Field. You like me. You really like me. Well, that's a Mandela effect.
People think it's
She didn't
you
say
love
that.
me. You really love me. That's what people thought it was.
I'm pretty sure she didn't even say you really like or love me.
Yeah, it is a Mandela.
She said you like me.
Yeah. It was
Right now you like me. That's what she said. Yeah, that's something that she never uttered on stage.
Again, in a world of...
By the way, her brother works at CERN.
Saldana's brother?
No, Sally Field.
Sally Field. Oh, yes, we talked about that.
Just saying, he has control over the Large Hadron Collider. Just gonna throw that out there. Gordon Shumway said, okay, taking singing lessons to sound like Bob frigging Dylan should disqualify you from any award.
Did you just go in there and just say, just talk annoyingly? Like, talk as if you have a friend who's bored and stoned and trailing off.
We should have gotten you to do a little review for the Bob Dylan movie. That would have been something.
Just blown a gasket.
I would have loved to see you that angry.
I mean, the only way I would have done that is to give them we'd have had to get to like $500 in super chats to do that.
In response to Kieran Culkin's speech, I saw a lot of conservatives praising this, calling it a pro-natalist message, and perhaps giving it a little bit too much importance. Although I did think it was cute, I don't think of this as some kind of huge, change in the tides and like family values and ideology.
There's plenty of people in Hollywood that have families, okay?
Megan Basham made a few remarks about this on Twitter. She said, Hollywood is laying off wokeness. As further proof of that, Conan O'Brien did not make a single political joke during his Oscar monologue tonight. No mention of Trump, no cheap shots at Republicans. And the first acceptance speech from Kieran Culkin for Best Supporting Actor is refreshingly pro-natalism. He joked throughout about holding his wife to a promise that they could have more babies. Quite a contrast from Michelle Williams thanking abortion for her success some years ago.
I mean...
And then she said, if we return to a Hollywood where men use their acceptance speeches to joke with their wives about having more babies, instead of women using theirs to praise abortion, Hollywood could be great again.
See, here's the thing, though. That's not a one-to-one comparison, because a one-to-one comparison would be, yes, Michelle Williams praised abortion, but Kieran Culkin didn't say, our birth rates are down. We need to get our birth rates up. Sharing a quirky personal anecdote with your family is great.
Yeah.
But you can't really do that if it's like, I wanted to win an Oscar, so I had to get a coat hanger out of a back room somewhere. You can't do that, okay? And I don't even know if pronatalism is necessarily the message. He was just sharing a story from his life that people find relatable.
Yeah.
The best messaging is not wrapped in messaging at all. It's just telling somebody something interesting about yourself. If others take it that way, I don't even like the idea of calling it pronatalist, because now they're going to start asking him questions. Right. So what do you think about the birth rates here in America? He's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And, perhaps the fact that this is just an organic moment between himself and his wife that he's recounting to the public is, because it's less contrived, more impactful.
Yes.
And if he came up on stage and accepted this award saying, by the way, I am pro-life and I think that abortion is murder and blah, blah, blah. If he were talking about the issue in such a heavy-handed way, I mean, I'm sure this guy is pro-choice anyway.
I'm sure
if he
is.
really came up on stage and started ranting about how he is opposed to abortion on moral grounds,
nobody would like
no one would really be impacted by that who isn't already on the same page with him.
Exactly. You change no minds by speaking that plainly.
So sharing this personal story, which actually relates back to normal people's experiences,
the real loser
has more of an impact.
The real loser is Rory Culkin, who nobody remembers anyways.
Yeah, whatever happened to that guy?
He did Scream 4. That was the last thing I remember seeing him in.
What happened to Macaulay Culkin anyway?
He's married to I mean, they're actually in the news a lot lately, because Brenda Song has been in the news a bunch lately with
Seems like these kids
covers.
made really good choices with who they ended up marrying.
Yeah, he's been with Brenda Song for a long time.
Seems
right?
very happy.
Like, I guess I just hate the idea that and I understand that it's the gig. The gig is to look at something that gets said at these events and extrapolate it to your own ends, I guess. But it's more endearing to me to just let the story be the story and say, it's endearing that this couple, I guess, has such a strong relationship, but you're taking it to such a far extent away from their marriage and into the concept of natalism versus antinatalism in America, which is a debate that I'm sure plenty of people are having. I don't think Kieran Culkin is one of the people that's having that debate.
Well, they're not just looking into what was said at the Oscars. They're looking into what wasn't said at the Oscars. And I think maybe she was right to point out it's a good omen that Conan O'Brien didn't come up on stage and start making jokes about Trump and Elon and the election and making cheap shots at people who voted for Trump. I think that is a good sign.
They already had they already have 2 kids?
They already have 2, and now theoretically his wife has agreed to give him 2 more. Yeah,
I'm surprised people weren't
getting above replacement rates. People,
I'm sure that there will be plenty of leftist commentators who will talk about how it's bad, bad for them to have kids, and he put her on the spot. And now she's going to be required to do it because he forced her.
Well, she looked very happy in the clip, and I'm sure that she wants to have a larger family. It's not that he's actually like calling her out on a public television broadcast, forcing her to get pregnant. I don't think that's really what's going on. There was another moment that I feel deserved more attention. So obviously every year at the Oscars, they do a segment called In Memoriam, where they talk about and pay tribute to the legacy of any actors or actresses who have passed since the last ceremony. Gene Hackman, who only recently was discovered dead in his household with his wife, got a huge tribute paid to him during this segment. However, the person who was conspicuously missing from this segment was Michelle Trachtenberg, who was discovered dead on the exact same day as Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
So that actually pays more credence to the idea that this was a pointed absence. I mean, that this was a real decision they made to snub any mention of her from this segment. And I can't imagine why that might be.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say that they just, like, I imagine sometimes if it's like earlier in the year, like, do they put like a brain trust of people together? They're like, who died this year?
Yeah.
And then like every year.
There's a whole committee for that.
And every year somebody gets left out. So it wasn't just Michelle Trachtenberg. Shannon Doherty got left out. 90210, right?
Right.
Tony Todd got left out. That one hurt me because I love Tony Todd. Tony Todd is a fantastic actor. One of the greatest voices. One of the greatest actual voices. Like, the opposite of Bob Dylan. Great, fantastic voice. He got left out, and then in a couple of others. So, I mean, it happens every year, and they have these debates about who gets left off these lists. But it's weird to me, given the fact there's been so much public interest in Michelle Trachtenberg's death. I mean, me and you both spoke about how when she passed, you kind of didn't realize the amount of an impact that she had on a lot of different people.
Yeah, and you might think that it has something to do with the presumed level of fame and success that these actors had, whether or not they're included.
Well, here's a list of all of the...
That's not true, as you can see.
Here's the full list of actors from this year. So Gene Hackman, James Earl Jones, Shelley Duvall, Donald Sutherland, Maggie Smith, Gina Rowlands, Terry Garr, John Amos, Robert Towne, Bill Cobb, Joan Plowright, Anouk, I don't know how to pronounce this one, Amy, Louis Gossett, and Cheng Pei. I only didn't know...
I know David Lynch was also on the list. Yeah.
So
I hadn't recognized a good amount of those names.
Mm-hmm.
And Michelle Trachtenberg, undebatably was more well-known than several of those names. Not like that's even relevant, but it just means that her level of fame and success had nothing to do with the decision to leave her off of the list.
Also,
so why did they do that?
It used to be like you would imagine that the younger they are, the more conspicuous the death would be.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I don't understand how they could come to that decision. It's not an error of incompetence. It seems like they gave it some thought and decided not to include her in the list. It's weird. Here were some of the tweets regarding this. Michelle Trachtenberg deserved to be shown and remembered in the Oscars in memoriam. That was so disrespectful and BS at the Academy. WTF. I don't like how the snubbed Michelle Trachtenberg was in memoriam. Michelle Trachtenberg deserved her flowers at the Oscars. This is so sad. Michelle Trachtenberg not being mentioned in the in memoriam of the Oscars is upsetting. You are and will remain so loved and admired. Oh, F you at the Oscars for not putting Michelle Trachtenberg in the memorial.
I mean, is it that she was just not considered as big of a star or not
There's
as...
no way.
Like,
because there were several names in there I had never heard or come across before. So I don't think that she didn't reach some arbitrary level of fame.
I wonder if it's just that again, I imagine that when these lists are put together, that the names from earlier in the year, I at least kind of get it. Like, it still feels like in the age of the cell phone and the internet that you would be able to find the majority of the names, right? But one of the most controversial things are things like the Oscars or the Hall of Fame for different industries, where it becomes subjective about who's going to make it onto what list. Like, I was just watching an interview with Ken Shamrock talking about how he's not in the WWF Hall of Fame or the WWE Hall of Fame. And it's always interesting when people have to go back and talk about the kind of arbitrary, I guess what would the term be? The arbitrary feats that you have to reach to get there. But for all intents and purposes, she would have reached those, Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There were a few other names they listed here who were not included in the memorial. Elaine Delian from Le Cercle Rouge. Okay. Mitzi Gaynor from South Pacific. Olivia Hussey, I believe, from the 1968 Romeo and Juliet, which was highly controversial. Martin Mull, Clue, and Morgan Spurlock.
Yeah. There's some other famous ones in the past that didn't get it that I thought was interesting. So Ralph Waite didn't get it in 2015. Farrah Fawcett didn't get it in 2010.
Wow.
You would have imagined that she would have. Anne Hesh, Tom Sizemore, Paul Sorvino. Again, this is Chad.
I'm beginning to think, is this just a list of the people who didn't go to the Eyes Wide Shut parties?
Yeah, maybe. Norm Macdonald. Norm Macdonald is a tragedy, if that's... I guess now Bob Saget, Norm Macdonald, Luke Perry, Vern Troyer, Adam West, Joan Rivers. Like, did just everybody die in those years? And then those were just the names that were so... Like, there's just so many of them that they got...
That's crazy.
And these are all recent deaths, too. So...
Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, it says Norm Macdonald...
How do they get away with that?
I don't know. I mean, I feel the same way about Tom Sizemore and Adam West.
So weird.
But, what do you think?
These are the people the people you just listed didn't sacrifice children for adrenochrome. The people that you just listed did not go to Bohemian Grove. The people you just listed didn't go to the freak-offs.
Or you know what it is? Like there's just one committee member who just hates all of them.
And we all know what happened to Joan Rivers after she made a pointed comment about Michelle Obama.
Oh, is that what it was?
One of her last public appearances. No, I'm just kidding. But there is also new data about Gene Hackman's death. It's still being investigated, and it's unclear how him and his wife and dog died. But what has come to light so far is data from his pacemaker. It found that he had died 9 days before he was found in his home with his wife. So it had been a couple of weeks that they had not been discovered, which is just really sad to think about.
Yeah, and you can't really, with no evidence of carbon monoxide poisoning, I made a post that was just this is interesting, or there's I said this is strange, and then people are like, no, it's not strange, and then they give me these really convoluted explanations that are completely plausible, but still so far outside the realm of how things normally happen in life that it still qualifies as strange. Somebody's like, okay, so maybe he dies of a heart attack, she's overcome with grief, overdoses. Dog gets into the pills that were next to her, and that's how the dog dies. I'm like, yeah, that's still strange.
Yeah.
Like that's still outside the realm of normal.
Right.
Dude, it's so weird too.
Mystery.
When I think of they were in New Mexico. Was that where it was?
Santa Fe, yeah.
Santa Fe. So I was like, I think of it as like, in my mind, I imagined it as like this bungalow, and it was just this sprawling estate.
I imagine it the same way.
They weren't in the same. They weren't even like the front door being open at this massive place is even more of a
that didn't catch anybody's eye.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm sure it was off the beaten
Right.
path. I saw an aerial photo of it. It was just massive. And I'm like,
Right.
I just imagined it as like a clay brick house that was just like as big as this room.
With lots of plants.
Yes. Yep.
That's
and,
how I imagined it.
And Native American imagery.
Cacti.
Art. Yeah.
A lot of terracotta.
Yeah. That's what I imagined. And it was not. I mean, it was that, but just on a massive scale.
Right.
The building was not small.
Yeah.
But, you know, more stuff will come out for that, but I don't know if there's ever going to be any real answer unless we find out that she took the pills or something.
Yeah.
Is it weird, like, in the movies where, like, they fake an overdose to somebody and then spread the pills out around them? I'm like, wouldn't there be less pills?
Yeah, wouldn't
if
they have taken
the pills? Wouldn't just the bottle be there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Either. Okay, let's read some super chats.
do it.
Shane H. Wilder said, "Happy Monday, Brett and Mary. It was nice seeing Mr. Fluffykins again. I was worried about him. House of David is great so far. I highly recommend it. I also recommend the new steak Crunchwrap sliders."
I did say when we were, so I was looking for showtimes at the movie theater that we go to over here. I was looking to see if McVeigh was coming to that theater, which I do want to go see. I watched the trailer before.
Is
the
it
show
going to
today.
theaters?
It is getting a limited release,
Interesting.
I believe. So
Okay.
I really liked the trailer, and I went to look for showtimes, and it was like, these were the things that were on the coming up at the movie theater. It was like The Last Supper, The Chosen season this, The Chosen, like it was a bunch of faith-based stuff.
It's kind of popping off right now.
It is.
I'm loving the cultural influence that we're gaining. I have tried the steak Crunchwrap sliders. Overrated, not worth it.
Damn.
No crunch.
No wrap.
I mean, it was a wrap, but I didn't see a crunch or hear a crunch. It was not good. It was a disappointment. Yeah, not worth it. Brian Bledsoe said, "Never thought I would ever hear about Ultraviolet again. I almost walked out of that one, but so far the only movie I've walked out of is Redline, 2007.
I never saw Redline. Understandable.
Have you walked out of a movie early?
I've never walked out of a movie early.
Because at that point you're bought in. Like, you have to.
It's like I spent the money.
You have to commit to it.
I think maybe when I was really, really young, I got dropped off at a movie theater to go on like what passes for a date when you're like.
That's cute.
And I think we might have left the theater.
Like, without even watching it?
Like halfway through.
Well,
I feel like it was You've Got Mail.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm going to have to like I've done a lot of damage to my brain. But that still sticks in my mind.
That's cute.
As like teen or preteen Brett who couldn't drive and had to be dropped off at a movie theater. And all that entails.
Yeah. Endearing.
Yeah.
Very of its time. Greg Duvier said, "Thank you for watching the Oscars, so I didn't." No, I mean, we didn't even watch the Oscars.
watch the
Nobody
clips.
does. Nobody. We all just see the clips come out on social media. It's totally irrelevant.
Let's do one more.
Dingus Khan said, "I found out today in the UK you have to buy a license to watch TV, about 170 euros per year."
Well, I thought it was the BBC. Like you pay for a BBC license.
Right, but otherwise,
I thought they were
you
getting
don't
rid of
need
that.
it.
I thought they were getting rid of that.
You do need a license for a butter knife, though.
That is true.
So.
And as we know, that's what what's his name, Idris Elba was talking about, like the dangers of knives.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
You know
gosh.
this.
So let's move on.
The first trailer for Shrek 5 dropped last week, and ever since it was released, fans have been divided and outraged over the alleged redesign of Shrek's character. And he does look noticeably different from the way that he was designed in previous movies. I don't think that this franchise is particularly special to me, even though I grew up watching them. I have no recollection of them, and I don't feel emotionally invested in Shrek. But I do agree with the people who are saying this is a downgrade from what I've seen so far. Some people, however, are arguing that the new Shrek is a feminized version of the character.
Why?
They have shrunk his masculine features. They kind of changed the shape of his nose to make it more angular. They also made his forehead more narrow, and they have changed the distance between his eyes and his chin. There are Facebook boomers now transvestigating Shrek, trying to see whether he was assigned female at birth, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I hate it so much.
Making phrenology diagrams of Shrek in 2020, or Shrek in 2010, sorry, compared to Shrek in 2025. If you could pull up that diagram for everyone and show them, this is changing his skull from that of a male to a female, allegedly.
I do love how
They've
much
smoothed his vertical frontal bone.
I do love how good we have it in the West, that this is what we get to
This is the kind of time we have on our hands.
I appreciate it.
From Freedom of Truth Updates that has Kid Rock as the Abby on Facebook. Oh my.
Was that before or after he went on a date with Lauren Boebert?
Amazing. Amazing.
See, I said the other day, given Sheryl Crow's virtue signaling about Elon, we need to do a reality show where Kid Rock tries to convince Sheryl Crow to perform the song Picture again at a concert.
Another part of this teaser, though, that I wanted to complain about was not related to Shrek's face. It was that they start off looking at the magic mirror, and Shrek is looking into this mirror and scrolling on it as if it's a TikTok For You page.
We can at least put
You can actually see him scrolling through videos that are playing on this magic mirror, like it's a touch screen, like he's scrolling through TikToks of himself. And I do not like that they're incorporating this into the movie. One person pointed this out, saying, I find it annoying when new animated films, keep in mind these are for children, incorporate social media, iPhones, and selfies to attempt to keep up with the times. It always makes the film less enjoyable for me. And it also makes it less timeless for the children who are watching them today, I feel.
Yes. That's a
It handicaps it.
That's a tough road to go down, depending on the type of storytelling. One of my biggest complaints during COVID was implementing COVID as a storyline in TV shows.
Hate it.
I hated it. I didn't want, but at the same time, I'm saying that I only mentioned it because there was like an NCIS storyline where a character's wife dies and she was like in her 30s, dies of COVID, and I'm just like, I complained about that, but at the same time, they implemented real world political events as the backdrop to many storylines, just more subtly in past seasons. So do I really get to tell them to use those but ignore those? Yes, I do, and I understand that it's hypocritical. Like, purely on personal preference, I wanted them to completely ignore COVID.
Do you think it was passable when Glass Onion did it? Because they leaned into that heavily.
I mean, it makes the movie less rewatchable.
Like, they started off Glass Onion with a scene where all of the ensemble cast is on a Zoom call playing Among Us.
I mean, it was like The Bubble.
And it's like, okay, but
the
even
whole theme of The Bubble.
The Bubble, though, at least that the whole concept of that is about COVID lockdowns. And
like, that's one that because it's
these
baked,
actors.
because it's baked into the concept,
Yes.
you could watch years later and be like, huh,
right?
I
but
forgot about that.
You pick something like what, be it COVID, be it TikTok, and it really inserting that into the movie. It handicaps it in terms of its cultural impact and how long lasting it can really be.
Most TV shows, it's actually one of my favorite things. Most TV shows go the route of creating their own fake social media
Oh yeah, like I remember in all of these Nickelodeon shows, instead of giving them Apple products, they had Pear phones and like Pear. Yeah. It was all
I'm not
Pear
even saying
products.
like the phone, but like they have like fakes. Like it's very clearly supposed to be like Instagram,
right?
But it has some generic name, or it's Bookface, or.
Well, in the show Victorious on Nickelodeon, they had, instead of like MySpace or Facebook, they had something called The Slap.
There you go.
Same thing.
Like they're doing that to avoid, but it looks exactly like the app, just with a different name.
It had its own look though,
Yeah.
and I just think they need to keep that in mind. I just feel so sorry for the kids of today, and like.
No, here's the thing though.
They don't have anything of value in their entertainment.
When those kids rewatch this movie in 20 years, the technology would have changed for them, so they'll look back on this fondly and being annoyed that whenever Red Note officially takes over here in America and their kids are only using Red Note and speaking Mandarin, they'll look back at this fondly.
But the storytelling isn't on the same level.
No.
It's just not. It actually objectively has degraded. And I'm not saying that to sound like an out of touch boomer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I legitimately was growing up like not that long ago, and it's actually scary how fast children's entertainment has had a downfall. Like it's completely just brain rot garbage now, and that's what I fear Shrek 5 is going to be. Shrek's character design changes aside, but they've compared this to the debacle that occurred for the first Sonic movie, where people saw the original design for Sonic's character was just nightmarish to look at. And once fans caused an uproar about it online, they went back and changed Sonic's design, made it perfect. And that is a rare example of people actually listening to the audience.
And they have rode that wave to 2 sequels, a television spin-off. And they're of similar fan
bases. Do you have
bases.
the comparisons here for Shrek and then the old and new Sonic here? You can see it's just the old Shrek kind of has a charm that today's Shrek doesn't have.
Yeah.
They also changed Donkey. But yeah, and then even the official account for the Sonic movie on TikTok made a comparison with the old and new version of Sonic, saying, "For any green ogres looking for advice." They're really throwing shade right now. I feel like they might be panicking if they need to fix this before it's too late.
I mean, Shrek, if I'm being honest, Shrek has a proven track record at the box office that Sonic didn't have before it came out. So they might feel a little bit more entitled to not changing anything.
Yeah. And then they also pointed out his the appearance of his daughter Felicia in the new trailer. So we're seeing like Shrek as an old man now. This is not young Shrek. This is old boomer dad Shrek. And he has a teenage daughter who you first saw in the earlier movies as a baby. They actually made a mistake in her character design because she had blue eyes before. And they now have her wearing a nose ring, green lipstick.
I mean, maybe she's got colored contacts in.
Wig. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not really giving what it's supposed to give. It's giving Sonic vibes.
And it's and this is
voiced by
Zendaya.
By Zendaya. Yeah, just another Zendaya movie in case you were needing one of those. I know that you just can't get enough of Zendaya, so.
Yeah, well, we talked about that on Friday, about how everybody loves Zendaya.
Just hip hip hooray.
I just can't wait. She should, you know
That's
what she
another
should do?
bonus point.
She should actually have, like, to troll people, she should have a Zendaya biopic made, but then have somebody else play her.
Who would it be?
I have no idea.
Sky Jackson?
There you go. That's a good idea.
No. But this is just, I feel bad for kids in Gen Alpha because they're just not going to grow up with. I remember, actually, here's something that dates me. We got the DVD of, I think, the first Shrek or maybe the second Shrek movie to watch at home from a Blockbuster, I bet. I don't remember going to the Blockbuster, but I bet that's where we got it. And it came with 3D glasses that were the red and blue ones with the paper rims. And we put on these 3D glasses to watch the DVD in a probably really shitty version of 3D at the time in the early 2000s. And I look back on those days fondly.
It's a good thing.
Gen Alpha will not enjoy the privileges that the elder Zoomers have.
I mean, I don't think they're going to be as interested in Shrek as...
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of millennials taking their kids to the movie theater to see this.
Unless the parents of the kids...
Millennials had a very special bond with Shrek, which I don't quite understand. A lot of weird sexual Shrek fan fiction.
I mean, Sonic was the same way, sadly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
we won't name any names.
The Sonic weirdos are...
There are a lot of Sonic weirdos,
There have
too.
been some Instagram reels that I can never unsee.
Onions have layers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, let's finish up these super chats. Michael Aleo said Casey Anthony saying that she has been in the legal field is the same as justice impacted person.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a justice insecure person.
Yep.
DCNC said the Casey Anthony chick should start a podcast with that Amanda Knox chick. Yeah, I don't even remember Amanda Knox's whole story. Do you?
No.
She had a big moment in the headlines. They called her Foxy Noxy. Isn't that so tabloid?
It's very tabloid. Did the
I miss
Inquirer
it.
come up with that?
Yeah. Drewish AF of Christendom said Casey Anthony is so back. Let's go. LMAO.
It's going to be her.
Yeah.
Like, is Casey Anthony going to have merch?
You know, I mean, I'm sure that she would make money on that if she did. Is she willing to go there? That's the question.
I can already think of...
Casey Anthony on Call Her Daddy podcast?
I can already think of about 5 separate, like, really, really inappropriate catchphrases that I will not say here.
If Alex Cooper can interview Monica Lewinsky, why can't she interview Casey Anthony on the Call Her Daddy podcast?
Yeah.
Why not? We can reinterpret history however we want.
She can write a book.
The door's open. Cute as Extremes said Damien Eccles of the West Memphis 3 is also a convicted, then acquitted child murderer, and Tim had him on Culture War for a softball interview. I didn't watch that interview.
I vaguely remember people talking about it.
I know there's still a strong contingent of people who believe that he's guilty. It's more contentious than Casey Anthony. So, you know,
more or less contentious than it's like, I mean, it's more split.
It's more split
Okay.
than the public sentiment that's on Casey Anthony's side. So I mean, I don't know. Was it a softball interview? I didn't watch it, but I know Cassandra at the time, she was on that one, and she very strongly believes that he's innocent. I don't know anything about the case though. Shane H. Wilder said, Mary, I haven't murdered anyone, and even if I did, it's a matter of confession, so you'll never know. LOL, JK.
It's between her and her priest.
Yeah, but I, just for the record, didn't murder anyone, never will, never have, never will. Rena Ran That Way said, ANORA is just an updated Pretty Woman. It's nothing that's that groundbreaking, and it didn't deserve all of the awards it got. Demi Moore was robbed.
Demi Moore appreciates that, I am sure.
Yeah, I mean, even Pretty Woman fully admits to the audience that sex work isn't glamorous and that, like, you know, it's kind of like a fantasy that she, like, gets swept off her feet and saved from the life that she was leading before. You couldn't make a movie like that anymore. Shane H. Wilder said nudity in a movie can increase its chances of winning an Oscar by up to 46%. Not surprising considering Wings won the very first Oscar for Best Picture in 1927 and had both male and female nudity.
I like the idea that there's somebody out here who's done the actual math on that.
That's crazy. I want to look into that further. Can you cite your source on that?
I don't it doesn't even need
but
a source.
I also
Just trust me, bro.
I don't know what like male and female nudity in a movie looked like
in
or was
1927.
in 1927. Like it must have been a different threshold back then. Ruben Hernandez said Drake was just offering the protection he was using from Rap-A-Lot Records, like Real Secret Society stuff, like Skull and Bones.
I don't know what that means.
I don't either. Simon Ho said leftists have a secret agenda of normalizing PDFs. They do. That they do. DCNC said land acknowledgements were very common in Australia in the 90s. Politicians were basically forced to start every speech like this. Seems it's common in the US now. Sucked in. Yeah, we have to stop that. We need to put a stop to that. Weary Traveler said, I'm a proud child of immigrants is a tell they're not legal. She phrased it in a way that's designed to get sympathy. Well, I'm not so sure. I mean, I think they're trying to put all immigrants, legal and illegal, just in the same bucket so that you can't make any critical statements of them. So, I'm not sure. Not that Jon Stewart said Adam Sandler has FU money.
He does. He was one of the top 10 highest paid actors of 2024. And I don't even know what movie came out in 2024.
An FU wardrobe. And he probably gives people the middle finger with his thumb out. I bet.
He's, actually, no. I haven't watched Happy Gilmore in a long time. He middle fingers in that, right? Does he have the finger out or is it in? I don't know.
John Quixote said, is it possible that I Love You Alive Girl was actually auto-corrected from I Love You a Lot Girl? I doubt it, to be honest. Coming from Bezos, I believe that he put thought into that text message and very much meant what he said.
Sorry, Mary, but you're wrong. Middle finger or thumb is in.
No, it ought to be out.
Thumb is in all of them.
No.
Yep.
People need to start putting the thumb out.
No.
Kevin Speaks Kedium said, I think people reference The Mask when he says, you love me, you really love me, when they think about that moment.
That's exactly what I'm referencing, the movie The Mask.
Then,
you love me.
When they wrote
you
that
really
script,
love me.
Like, it was already part of pop culture when they wrote the reference into the script, though. That's the crazy part. They didn't come up with that. That was already what everyone quoted her saying before.
Who is Cuban Pete, anyways?
Zach Yandel said, is he real to the Home Alone kid?
Yes, he's related to Macaulay Culkin.
Yes,
he's related to Macaulay Culkin.
He's kind of the more popping of the Culkins.
Again, and then Rory just disappeared.
He's gone. Urashima
He's
Otaru,
probably been in some really big thing that neither of us are thinking of.
Urashima Otaru said they probably had Gene's reel ready for decades. Yeah, that might be part of it.
I mean, he made it to 95.
95, man. Not that Jon Stewart said, my narrative is they had a memoriam for Gene ready to go because he's been retired since 2004 and they were just waiting for him to die.
I mean, they do that.
Whose job is that?
They write obituaries ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like newspapers have them ready to go beforehand. Yeah. And that is one of the more morbid jobs to have.
Mm-hmm. Ezek said, I don't know if you've covered any movie slop recently, but I saw The Monkey this weekend. It was some okay slop. Hard Eyes was pretty mid.
Yeah, Hard Eyes is like already on streaming.
What's Hard Eyes?
It was like what's his name? I don't remember how to pronounce his name. It's a new movie that came out like 3 weeks ago, and I don't even remember what it was about. But it didn't get great reviews either. But The Monkey got bad reviews, but Neon from Clownfish liked it, and that's all the praise I need.
Drewish AF of Christendom said, I'm not saying this is someone else, Brett's eyes have his nose in a chokehold without glasses.
This is true.
I didn't say that. No. That was him.
Well, it's actually because my face, like, I just, if you see images of me when my face is thinner, it doesn't look as noticeable.
I see.
But, you got to love yourself no matter what.
Yeah. Quote from Brett Dasvik, 2025. Love yourself no matter what. Pop Culture Junkie said, Mary, true confession, I'm a pizza snob, but I didn't know there was such a thing as a Taco Bell snob.
There is.
Absolutely. There are some things I would never order off of the Taco Bell menu.
When me and Olivia first started dating, we were looking at bad motivational sayings online, and one of them, there was like an actual poster. It was like one of those Pinterest. It's like a Pinterest motivational saying. It says like, love yourself even if you're not that great. I kind of want to buy that.
I'm picturing that on a home goods
I'm going to put
placard.
that behind me. Yeah. No, it's like something you could definitely find it at Hobby Lobby.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree.
Love yourself, even if your eyes are too close together.
Also, I'm the opposite of a pizza snob. I will eat any pizza. Some of it is better than others. I know that, but like I would go to Chuck E. Cheese for the pizza. I don't care.
Yep.
Shane H. Wilder said, Prime did good with House of David and cut a deal for The Chosen, while Netflix made the blasphemy that was Mary, the film, not the podcastress. Yeah, heard bad things about Mary, but it looks like Amazon is on the right track. Ulvin McGoth said, whispers into your ear, Shrek is love, Shrek is life. Yeah, that was a very, like, do you remember that meme? That was like a very millennial meme that somehow
Early
like,
memes.
Yeah.
Early memetics.
Like, all of my friends in middle school were saying that phrase, but none of us knew what it meant. Like, we didn't know the context.
I mean, that's the best kind, right? Like, where everybody just says it full on, but doesn't actually even know what it means.
Thankfully,
that's kind of led us into the brain rot we live in now, where I listen to these brain rot songs. I listen to these brain rot songs, and I have no idea what any of it means.
Knee surgery. And yeah.
Some of them are so good, like the Jelly House dude who does whole pop songs and he turns them into brain rot are legit bangers.
I have a new favorite brain rot meme, but I can't say it on air.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Omega Red fan said Shrek is one of those movies you see it once, you can't see it once again. Is it really that bad? I mean, I remember enjoying it. Brian Bledsoe said, didn't the previous Shrek movies make a bunch of modern references as well?
Yeah, I
don't remember them.
Pop culture was a huge part of those movies.
Well, there's a pop culture reference. I get that, but for some reason, making a reference just to the modality of scrolling on a smartphone screen feels like it's not a pop culture reference.
Also, it's like there are certain ones that are kind of industry standard. Like you can make Star Wars pop culture references even before the sequel trilogy, and even before really before the Disney trilogy, and even just after the sequel trilogy, which nobody really, at the time, they were not looked on fondly. But, you know, if somebody makes a joke about Luke Skywalker, you're probably making a specific type of reference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So some of them are more acceptable than others. Weary Traveler said, I just want to grill Shrek. Okay. Oh, because he's a boomer dad now. He just wants to grill. Shane H. Wilder said, there are a couple lines from the first Shrek I remember, but I can't remember anything about the other films. Pop music breakaways lose me.
I just never cared about Shrek. Like, does that like destroy my millennial cred? The first two. I never saw the...
It's because you're like an older millennial, though. The younger millennials love it. Yeah. For whatever reason. It just really...
I just couldn't care less.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. said Smile 2 is a better The Substance. Yeah, I guess that's the second Smile didn't get any attention. Because it's like generally horror movies don't get recognition at the Oscars.
Yes.
That's known. Carnell said, in another universe, I'm imagining Demi Moore won an Academy Award for Striptease 1996, and she thanked the community of strippers. Yeah. But no one would have done that back then because people didn't have a strange respect for strippers in the 90s. They knew that they were trashy. Brian Bledsoe said, every time I hear about stolen land, I'm like, not so much stolen, but won. When I say that, it never goes over well.
Yeah, that's, better be aware of who you're around when you...
Stolen, conquered.
Yeah.
But legit, true. Shane H. Wilder said, in answer to the Wings question, it was ass and tits, and was pointless to the story. It was common before the 1934 Hays Code.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Hollywood was pretty crazy in the silent film era. People don't know this.
We are pretty close to a third crisis party, guys. We should get there before we sign out here, which we're almost there.
Pop Culture Junkie said, I will generally eat any kind of pizza, but Pizza Hut delivered a pizza during Super Bowl 2 hours late and cold. App deleted.
Oof.
There's no forgiving that. And also Pizza Hut, I never liked because it's just so thick. It's like bread.
I like Pizza Hut.
It's too thick.
That's actually so I also prefer like pan pizza from Domino's, which is obviously that same type of...
How Midwestern.
Pizza. Well, I don't like I'm not a fan of deep dish.
Yeah.
Not like if I wanted lasagna, I just eat lasagna.
I still have never had deep dish pizza before.
But we've like when we'd go on skating trips to Chicago, we'd go to Giordano's or wherever the big place was at that time, and I would eat it, and I'd be like, it was novel because we were there in town.
Yeah.
But if I lived there, I don't know if I would make the choice to go. Like if I lived in New York, I would get a slice all the time, constantly. Sure. But if I lived in Chicago, I don't think I would make deep dish
It's
regularly.
A commitment.
Yeah, my regular. Like plus, then it has to become part of your personality.
Well, he's a Chicagoan, and he ordered like 1 billion Lou Malnati's deep dish pizzas, and everyone was like making these pizzas all day, and I didn't try any of them because I was just like, this is a lot. Like, I don't.
They're fine. I mean, I didn't have any from this round, but when I first started working for the company, also did that. There was like a billion of them downstairs, so we'd make them
It's messy
on a regular basis.
High Voltage 75 said, did you know Chris Farley was the original Shrek voice? He did some voice work for it before he passed. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but I think that's the reason Mike Myers was on SNL is because he's trying to do press for Shrek 5.
Yeah.
And I really liked his Elon impression. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was hilarious, even though it got a tepid reaction.
I like Michael
in the
Myers.
audience.
I still like Mike Myers. So
He's great.
What was the movie we saw him in recently? And we were like, what was he like? He's like King. Was he in like The King's Man or something like that? He was in some movie that I saw in the last couple of years. Maybe it was Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. He was in something that I watched recently, and I was like, he was just randomly in there. Or maybe it was one of Kenneth Branagh's movie. Let me look it up.
And Weary Traveler said, Shrek is great. Young millennials stay winning.
Oh, do they?
It really is the young millennials that keep Shrek alive. It's definitely not a Zoomer property.
He was in Amsterdam.
Oh, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah. So still working here and there. Painful said, Lord Farquaad is Mike's way of swearing in a kid's movie.
I do like that they kept saying that Rachel Zegler has the Farquaad haircut in...
She does.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just give her a wig or a better haircut for that role? Like, everyone was pointing out that Selena Gomez, her appearance at the, what was it? It wasn't at the Oscars. It was her appearance at the Grammys, I think.
Okay.
She was wearing this blue dress and had this beautiful black bob that she was wearing, and everyone was saying, this is what Snow White should look like.
Well, there you
go. Not
go.
Rachel Zegler.
There was, I was on Valiant Renegade's channel last night, and they showed us some of the toys, and in it, Snow White is a darker skin tone than the Queen.
Yeah.
Which is only funny if it's Snow White.
Right. It's just, it defies reason.
I want to see, like, I bet you that press tour is going to be lit. We should, like, I hope they both get drunk and just start fighting.
Did we close the poll?
Oh, no. I hope Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot both get just hammered and just fight during interviews.
I have seen a lot of people clowning on Gal Gadot for her acting skills or lack thereof recently.
She's not exactly a great actress, but she's never needed to be.
I mean, that line in Death on the Nile where she's like, enough champagne to fill the Nile. Like, that
was some psychopath used that in the trailer.
Terrible. Terrible. I mean, it was a line that was written for a trailer, though they had to include it.
To fill the Nile.
Jeff Bezos won
67%.
Better at pretending to be human than Zuck. I agree. But Zuck could still catch up over time. High Voltage 75 said, remember that blind pizza taste test you did on Cass Castle, Mary? If I recall correctly, you got the most correct.
We should do a Taco Bell taste test.
I think I did win. Yeah.
Okay.
But I really know my pizza.
There you go.
Connoisseur.
All right, guys, we will take the outro very slow because we got a crisis party that hasn't gone off yet. I want to thank you guys all again for joining us again today. And if you are new here, please like this video. And if you are not new here, you should like the video as well. But if you are new here, you should subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Please and thank you guys. Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. We have one more from Shane H. Wilder. Mike Myers made the Pentaverate in 2022 that was a limited series based on a reference from the conspiracy theory dad in So I Married an Axe Murderer.
I remember seeing that. I didn't watch it, but I remember that came out.
I don't remember that at all.
Yep.
Pop Culture Junkie said, when I lived in Chicago, I went to Giordano's a lot, and I make a pilgrimage to the one here in Orlando once a year. Now in Chicago, I prefer Geno's.
Okay, there you go.
I don't know any of these chains.
Like, it's so funny. Like, maybe it was Gino's that I went to when I was a kid, and I'm just transposing.
Which one is considered to be actually the best?
I don't know. I just know that whenever we would go, so like once a year, we would take like a weekend skate trip to Chicago and go skate with like locals, like friends from out there. And then there would have to be a night, usually on a Saturday, that you'd go and get pizza. No, it's usually on Friday, because Saturday we'd go party or whatever. So there would be no time for that. But I don't remember which one it was. I just remember going.
Friday is a really special. Friday night is really special for like Catholics who want to party, because if you're partying on Saturday night, you're going to know that Mass is in the morning and you're going to have to go home earlier than usual.
That makes sense.
So Friday night is when you really go crazy.
And like I always said, Friday is always the best.
Friday is the best.
Friday night is the best night of the week.
But Thursday night is pretty cool too. Honestly, because you're looking forward to Friday.
The all I remember is wherever we went for deep dish pizza, I just remember it seeming like a classier place than I would ever go to at home.
But eating deep dish pizza is not classy. It is actually very discourteous.
It's a mess.
Yeah, so it feels like there's some kind of dissonance there.
Did you do your outro?
I did.
Okay, all right, guys.
Yeah.
If you would like to follow me, I am on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, guys, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is noon Pacific. You should come and watch every day. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than watch the show, you can rate and review on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. All ratings and reviews help the show. Also, liking the videos helps the channel a lot. So thank you guys all so much for helping the channel. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook, and not TikTok, because we were banned on TikTok. Plus that app was supposed to be gone by now. That's at Pop Culture Crisis. And on Instagram, at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. There's one more there, man.
Shane H. Wilder said, as Catholics, we can party hard on Friday as long as we don't eat meat. Exactly. It's a sushi party.
There you go. There's the manual. There we go.
Third party, rather.
Thank you, guys.
Dance it out.
All right. Party.
I'm proud of us. This is a strong start to the week.
It's a good omen for the week.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see y'all then.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.